Hello. Today I'm going to show you on how you can go ahead and draft this pattern. So let me bring my curve. I'm sorry, I should have got this area. Okay, so put everything intact while waiting for people to join. So let's make this pattern. It is a very easy one to go and easy to understand for friendly beginner. I'm going to do my best so you'll be able to go ahead and create up this pattern without any issue. So I'll start by drawing a straight line, which is going to be the guide line, okay? Like this. This is going to be the guideline. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, look for the middle, at least 1/4 of the hip. So I'm going to look for 1/4 of the hip, which is 9.5 inch. Then I'll add at least 3 inch to it. So let me add, yeah. Okay, I'm going to just come here and mark. Bear in mind that we're going to be drafting the back and the front in this same pattern. So we have to draft it. I'll not be showing you live. We use the front. It's an easiest way. Okay, so I've just drawn a center line. Arrange my piece and put it here so you'll be able to see. So we've just drawn a straight line, which is going to be the guideline. As you can see, that's the guideline. Now, what I'm going to do is to go ahead now and start putting my measurement. So I'll be drafting from here to here. The front is going to be this way, while the back is going to be that way. Okay, so we're going to come on this line, measure like this. Bear in mind that if you don't want it to be a high waist, you have to minus your waistband. So I'm just going to go ahead now and minus at least 1.5 inch for my waistband. All right, you will always minus 1.5 inch for your waistband. I'm going to go ahead, mark my hip depth. All right, my hip depth measurement, which is between, it's normally between 8 to 10 depending on how tall you are. Then I will mark the crotch depth. How do you get your crotch depth? Is by dividing your round hip by 4, then you add 1 inch to it. You can add 1.5 inch depending, sometimes 2 inch depending on how you're making a palazzo. You normally add 2 inch. If you're making a normal pant, just to add 1 inch. So my round hip is 39 divided by, is it 39? No, 38 divided by 4 is going to give me 9.5 inch. So I'll add 1 inch to it, making it 10.5 inch right there. Then I'm going to move now to the lap line. The lap line is normally between 3 to 4 inch from your crotch depth measurement. So I'm just going to go ahead now and measure 1, 2, and 3. So I'll be making it 3.5 inch. Then I will move now to the length of my pants, since it's a short pants. All right, I'll go ahead now and mark 18.5 inch. Once I am done marking those points, The next thing I want to do is to go ahead and rule straight line up like this, and I'm going to do the same thing here, sorry, like this. I'll come here and rule another straight line, and here I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, now that we have all these lines, now I have, this is the waist, here is the hip for H, here is the crush C, and here is the lap, yeah, the lap line L, and here is the line to L. All right, now that I am done doing so, the next thing I'm going to do right now is to take my round hip divided by 4. My round hip divided by 4 is 38 divided by 4 is going to give me 9.5 inch. I will come on my hip there. I'm going to mark that 9.5 inch right there. Then I'll also come here like this. I'll mark that 9.5 inch right there. So once I'm done doing so, I mark 9.5 inch all the way straight down. All right, you can see it. Now that I am done marking that point, the next thing I'm going to do is to look for the crush extension. All right, to get the crush extension, you have 2 ways of doing so. It's either you take your round hip divided by 20, or you take round hip divided by 4, then you take whatever you have from the answer, which is 1/4 of the hip, divided again by 4. All right, so my round hip is 38 divided by 4. It's going to give me 9. 9 divided by 4. That's what you're going to get for your crush extension. So I'm just going to mark that point right there. That point right there, as you can see, which is this. Okay. Now that I am done extending my crush extension, what I'm simply going to do, is I'm going to come here. You can choose to go in by 1 inch from this point, but I'm going to come here. I will do 3/4 inch, and I'm going to go down by 3/4 inch for the front. Okay, remember, in 3/4 inch, down 3/4 inch. Now you are going to come from this part. Normally you can measure 2.5 inches, almost the same line. Okay, so there's no need for me to measure because mine is 2.5 inch. Where the hip depth line is, that's where you're going to be marking. Now before I go ahead now, connect this point. Let me just connect it. It's not like before I go ahead to connect it up. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect this up from this part, from the hip depth line all the way to that part. Can you see that? All right, all the way to the 3/4 inch I went in, and I stopped where the 3/4 inch I went down. Now at this point I'm going to put 1/4 of the round waist. My round waist I'm working with is 28 divided by 4. It's going to give me 7. I'll mark that up, but I'll be needing 1 inch for my dart. I'm going to mark it up by 1 inch for my dart. So I'm going to come here like this, connect this up to meet up this 1 inch I went. So when you're connecting it up, look at what I'm going to be doing. You don't want to make it to look too funny, so I'm just going to place it up like this. Can you see? All right, so just mark it all the way, connect it all the way to this point. Okay, now that we are done connecting that part, I'm going to bring it up like this to meet up that my 0.75 I went down. Can you see that? Now that I am done doing so, the next thing, remember I've not connected this part. The next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead now, put the nipple to nipple. Normally, nipple to nipple divided by 4, okay? Normally, what some people do is they measure from this point to this point and mark that up. But I've discovered that each time I measure from this point to this point, my dark is going to be right closer to my it's not really at my nipple point, okay? So what I will always do is I just come here, put my nipple to nipple, okay? I don't measure from this point to this point. I'll put my nipple to nipple, which is mine is 7 and the half divided by 2. You divide it by 2 is going to give me 3.075. I will just connect that line with a straight, that point with a straight line, just like this. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead now. I will mark half inch both sides. Remember we added our data allowance, which was 1 inch. I'm going to come here now for the front. I will mark 4 inch. You can either choose to go up by 2 inch from the hip line. I will mark 4 inch downwards. Then I'm going to connect it up like this to meet up this point, and also do the same thing to the other side of it, which is this part. Okay, now that I'm done doing so, normally I should have marked this before. I should have connected that point up before this point. When you are connecting this point up, you want to avoid it from being too deep. So what you can do from this point is to go out. You can do 1.5 inch, okay? Go out by 1.5 inch or even 1.025 is good, because you want to avoid it from being too deep, okay? You don't want to make it too deep. So when I'm connecting this part up, I'll just place it in such a way that you're going to pass through that 1.5 that I mark. Can you see that this is the 1.5 that I mark? So to avoid it from being too, like I said, too deep. Now I'm going to come to the lap line. You will take your round lap, divide it into 2. All right. You will take your round lap, divide it into 2, or you take whatever you have from here and minus 1.5 inch or 1 inch to it, okay? So if you check what I have from here to here, it's almost 12 inch. So my round lap is 24. So I'm going to go ahead and just mark it up, but I don't want it to, no, my round lap is not 24. My my round lap is 22, sorry. So I'm going to come here like this and mark 11 inch, which is right there. Now you come to the length of your pants, okay? So I'm just going to take this 11 inch. I will minus 1.5 inch from there, because I want it to be a little bit fitted. So this is what we're going to do. Connect it up like this. You can use your straight ruler, or you can go ahead. There's a pan curve ruler somewhere, I think so, yeah? You can use your pan curve ruler, okay? So just place it up like this. See? So I'm just going to connect this point up. Like this. Connect it up like this. Now that I'm done bringing it up here, I'll just come here like this and bring this point, making sure everything matches. All right. Now, what I want to do is, I don't want this part to be a little bit free, so I'm going to come here and go in by 1 inch, so for it to be really fitted. I'll connect from this point all the way to that 1 inch. If you don't want yours to be fitted, you go ahead and you just leave it up like that. So just like this. Can you see that? So I have my front. Remember that the front, you're cutting it times 2, okay? Times 2. And if you remember, I did not add any zipper allowance. If you want to add a zipper at the front, or you can choose to add it at the back, that one is up to you, okay? So if I want to add my zipper, what I'm simply going to do at the front, what I'm simply going to do is to come here. I'll be marking 1, you can add 1.5 inch. I'll be doing 1.025, 1.025, and 1.025. Now, you come here. From here like this, you can measure at least 1.5 inch, or you measure 2 inch. You stop somewhere around there, okay? Now I will connect this line up straight, 1.025. So we back on 1.025. So I'll just connect it up like this and bring it up like that. Bring up. You always need to add your zipper allowance, because if not, there is no way you are going to put on the pan, okay? So this part here, you just kind of give it a curve from here. See, I'm using my left hand side, so that's why it's kind of, so you're just going to kind of round it up. Round it up like this, okay? So I'm just gonna go ahead and bring this up. You see what I've just done there, right? Now we are done with the front. This is the zipper allowance. I'm going to come now to the back. I'll bring it now. I hope that this part will be able to be enough to the back. Okay, now that we are done with the front, let's move to the back. First thing first, what you're going to do is to leave at least 2 inch here, 2 inch from the top. So I'm just going to start that pattern right there. You're going to leave 2 inch. No, let me do this part. Yeah, let me just rule this line so you understand why I'm leaving that 2 inch. So I'm just going to rule this line. Okay, you know that we normally need to lift up our pants by 1.5 or 2 inches. So I'm going to come here like this. I will mark the hip depth. The hip depth, remember, minus 1.5 inch. Okay, 1.5 inch, my hip depth, 1.5 inch, and move now to my crotch depth. We already did that, which is the round hip divided by 4, then add 1.5 inch, 1 inch or 1.5 inch or even 2 inch. Then I'm going to just count this 1, 2, 3 and half. That's to get the lap line. Then I'm going to mark the length of the short. It's going to be the same. It's going to be the same, just that because we have gone down, we think that maybe it's not the same, it's the same, okay? But I will show you why we went down. So just drag up, connect those points up with straight lines. And the line is the same, okay? So I've just done so, connecting the line up with straight line. Now what I'm going to do is to take the round hip divided by 4, like we did for the front, okay?
like we did for the front. Sorry, let me try to hold that pattern also, not move. Like we did for the front. Okay, so I'm just gonna hold it up here. So I want to check if it's all right. Welcome. So I just hold the paper up. I needed to check if everything is recording smoothly. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here. I'll come here and put 1/4 of the hip, which we already divide it, which is 38 divided by 4 is going to give me 9.5. I'll mark it up here, and I'm going to also mark it up here 9.5. Sorry, 9.5, which is right there. And I'm going to come here on the brush there, and also mark it up there. Now we're going to go ahead now and connect these points up like this. Now that I have connected it up, the next thing we're going to do, remember, this is the waist, this is the hip depth line, there's the crush, here is the lap line and the length of it. Now that we are done doing so, the next thing we're going to do is to come here to get the crush extension of the back. Remember that the back and the front is not supposed to be the same when you're working on the crush extension. It's not supposed to be the same. So remember I said to get this, you will take your round hip divided by 20, or you take the round hip, divide it by, I don't know which I don't count for you. Or you take the round hip divided by 4, then whatever answer you get, you divide it again into 4. Whichever way you choose to do is up to you. But remember, this part is supposed to be times 2 or bigger than what you had for the front. So assuming that my front was 2 inch, the back is going to be 3.5 inch. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and mark that up, because if not, it's going to end up looking very funny. Looking very funny. So I'm just going to connect it up all the way to that point. Now that I have done connecting it up, remember we're supposed to go up by 2.5, but we are not going to go up because it's the same. Okay, so I'm going to come here. I'm going to come here, go in by 3/4 inch, go down by 3/4 inch. All right? No, sorry. Hey God, it's just for the front that we went down. So we went in. Here, what we're simply going to do is just to go in by 3/4 inch. For here, we'll go in by 3/4 inch. But for the back, remember that normally the back is normally supposed to be bigger than the front. Okay, we slammed in the back. I mean the front, we went in and by 3/4 inch. But for the front, we're not going to do so. All right, so I'm just going to come here like this. I'll put 1/4 of my round waist, 1/4 of my round waist, but let me just go in here by 1/2 inch. Yeah, 1/2 inch is good to go. Normally your back is supposed to be bigger than the front, so I just went in by 1/2 inch just to for everything to look perfectly. I went in by 1/2 inch. Now, remember that I left 2 inch here. From that 1/2 inch, depending on how booty you are, how fuller you are at the back, you will go up for smaller size. I normally go up by 1.5. But if you're bigger size, you can go up 2 inch or even 2.5. So I am doing 1.5. I'll come here and mark that point. Can you see that? Now, I'm going to go ahead now, connect this part. I'm going to go out here by 1.5 inch. Okay, 1.5 Now, what we're going to do is we have to connect this part up to meet up this point, this one. Remember, you're not supposed to make it too deep. Oh, I beg, don't make it too deep so that it should not be looking funny and you keep on, you come here and start bashing it. So this is what I've just done. I'm just going to connect it up to meet up this point, that 1/2 inch that I went in, all the way to that 1.5 inch that I went up. Can you see that? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here like this. I will place it up like this. The round waist divided by 4, which is 28 divided by 4 is going to give me 7 inch. I'll add my 1 inch for my dad, so which is going to end there. I'm going to just go ahead and connect this part up right the way to that point. Okay, remember I made a mistake. I said I said you're supposed to go in. Don't mind to create it, but you're not supposed to do it too deep like the front. Okay, so it's not straight. Connect it all the way to that point. Oh, can you see that? Can you see what I've just done? Okay, now that we are done doing so, the next thing I'm going to do is to look for my nipple to nipple, okay, which is going to be this. And remember that if you measure it up here, the round waist is this. Yeah, nipple to nipple. You're going to look for the nipple to nipple, divide it into 2. Normally just measure up whatever you have here and divide it into 2, or you can do it like we did for the front. Nipple to nipple, divide it into 2. Okay, so nipple to nipple divided into 2 is going to give me almost this 7.5 divided by 2 is going to give me 3.075, almost closely to 4 inch, but not 4 inch. And also remember that for the front, we went down by 4 inch. This is the back. If you went down by 4 inch for the back, you're going to add 1 inch or even 1.5 inch to it. So I'm doing 1.5 inch, making it a total of 5.5. I'm going to mark my 1/2 inch both sides because that is what I added. If you add 1.5, that's what you're supposed to go ahead and take away from the dark allowance. And remember that I'm not adding any sewing allowance here. I will not add it because this is my pattern, and because when I'm cutting it, I always like to add my sewing allowance on the pattern. Okay, now remember that the front we did went in here by 1 inch. I'm just gonna do the same thing here, 1 inch. Now for the lap line, I'll go ahead. Normally, like I said, the back is always bigger than the front. Know that, you have to take note of that. Back is always bigger than the front. Okay, don't make that point. So I'm just going to come here like this. Whatever I have from this point, I will minus, or you just measure the round around the round knee. What I have there is about 11.5. I will just minus from here. I'm going to minus 1.5 to it because I want it to be a little bit fitted. Now bring this up from here, place it in such a way that you're going to get those 3 points up together. All right, now we have the back. We will cut times 2. All right, we have the back and we have the front. Normally, easy way for us to just draft this is not like to waste this time. We're supposed to cut the front, then use it to draft off the back.
Okay, so this is how I'm going to be cutting it. Remember, the line is supposed to be the same. Okay, the line is the same. Don't start asking me, why is it that the front is shorter for the 2-inch we added? The line is supposed to be the same. Don't make that mistake. The line is supposed to be the same. If you notice that the line is not the same, go ahead and arrange it, because there's no way one will be looking longer than the other one. The line is supposed to be the same. I'm going to cut it like this. And if you also notice, we did slant the front down because the human shape is not really straight, especially for the ladies. It's not really straight. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut it. But for the back, we do not slant it down. Alright, so don't make that mistake. We do not slant it down because we have bumbo right at the back. So this is our pattern of the front that we've cut so far, and just like this. Okay, remember, we are still going to go ahead and cut off the waist band. We did clear 1.5 inch for the waistband. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut like this. That's the back. Like there are so many ways you can achieve the same result. Drafting it, your pattern, but you're going to go ahead and achieve this same result. No matter whichever method you use, you're still going to achieve the same result. Like your pants, you're supposed to do the short pant. That's it. So that people use their own methods of drafting it up. Okay. Easy. Uh-oh. If you check on my channel, I have so many ways you can go ahead and draft up your pants. Okay, a lot of pattern for you waiting for you people on my YouTube channel. So okay, now this is what we have. Let's go ahead and cut the waistband. When I'm cutting my waistband, normally what I'm cutting here is not the full of my waistband. So when you're cutting your waistband, you're supposed to cut round your waistband. So what I'm cutting here is just 1/4, but you're supposed to cut full waistband. So my round waist is 28 divided by 4 is going to give me 7. I'll go ahead and add 1.5 inch to it, making it 8.5 inch waistband. Remember, we did we minus 1.5 inch from the pattern, so that's what we're going to be using. You can make a waistband of 2 inch, you can make it of 4 inch or even 5 inch, depending on how big you want, and especially if you're walking on a high waistband, it's always good for the waistband to be a little bit bigger. For me, I just believe that when it's bigger, it's more attractive. Alright, so I'm just cutting that 1/4. Remember, this is 1/4 of my waistband, making it that you're supposed to cut this one. Take round waist. When you're cutting it, you fold it up like this, okay? Hold it up like this. Take round waist, divide it into 2. Then you cut it. Once you're done cutting it, when you're cutting it, you now open it up like this. Open it up like this. Make sure your fabric is on fold. You cut here on fold, okay? This side is not going to be on the fold. Alright, so we have our pattern. As you can see, it's looking like we did it the opposite way. Let's just put it up like this for you to see that the length is the same. The side length is supposed to be the same. Okay, the side length here, but for here it's not going to be the same because we did lift it up by 1.5 inch. So this is what we get. And if I notice that anything is looking funny, the side length here is supposed to be the same. All right, small long. That's just it. So I have the waistband. Can you see that? And I have the front and the back. Okay, yeah, I have the front and the back. So I hope this pattern was helpful to you. If it was helpful, don't forget to follow me for more upcoming tutorials. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you some other time. Bye bye. Bye bye. Thank you so much for watching.